start episode 1.
What's up, everybody? I'm going to do things a little bit differently going forward. I have a sizable project that I'm doing up in the Upper Peninsula. Some of the work I'm doing on site, some of the work I come back home and fabricate and finish and run some logistics and obtain some materials that you can't get up there. Sometimes it just makes more sense to get it down here, haul it up there, kind of come back home. Right now, at this moment, I'm concentrating on the lower level. I'm going to be working my way up to the upper level, but right now, the lower level, the epoxy floor is going. While they're doing that, I'm working on the basement bar cabinetry, and the idea is everything's going to be walnut faced. I don't want to do this in just one long video. I'm just going to do a series because this is going to be, there's a lot of information here on how I go about doing a project like this. And there's lots to know, lots to learn, and a lot of cool tricks, or maybe not tricks, like a method. For an operation like this, one guy, one at-home cabinet shop that doubles as tool storage and material storage and handling and fabrication. And at the same time, you'll get an understanding of me and how, you know, I do quite a bit of traveling. I've traveled all over the United States from Boston to Honolulu. Locally, here in Michigan, I'll pack up my stuff. I'll go to Grayling, I'll go to Traverse City, I'll go to Grand Rapids, Muskegon, and it's a little bit fun. I didn't like traveling too much all over the country after a while. Now I pretty much stick to Michigan. It is kind of fun packing up your stuff, coming up with a strategy and a plan. It's a challenge, it's a puzzle to make everything go right, and try to adhere to a timeline and a budget still. It's not for everybody. I like knocking it out of the park. Lots of people can pull this off. Not everyone's willing to go the distance. Here's where I'm at this stage in the game. These are the walnut faces. This is a little bit of a tricky putt where you have a door and the grain goes and it flows up through the drawer face, and from door to door, door to drawer face, everything is labeled meticulously so it all makes sense. There's just 2 coats of sealer on this. So far it's looking pretty good, but you know, some people that apply a sprayed finish would question how I go about doing that in a facility. That's my garage. It's not a spray booth, but I end up with some pretty darn good results. And there's a few things I do they're a little different. I'm gonna in this series I'm gonna show you how I go about and how I arrive at the very end. We'll put out a video every couple of days. I've got some footage already. I want to get at it and get them out to you. So let's start here and see how this series goes, and see if we learn something. Meanwhile, stay safe, stay busy. That's awesome. I did a Clearview kitchen cabinet package. I did just the installation of it. And it's, if you haven't seen that Clearview kitchen project, it's pretty good video, pretty in-depth. But what I did find with the Clearview cabinetry, I found some things that I kind of like. And I was surprised, and I was happy to learn that you could go to Menards and you could buy just the cabinet boxes, and you don't get to just pick your sizes. They offer what they have available, and that's it. And kind of like increments of like 3, let's say 9-inch cabinets, 12-inch cabinets, 15, 18, 24. All right, 21 was in there somewhere, I think. 27 maybe, 30, 33, 36, 42. So that's generally how the majority of cabinetry comes, is in increments of 3 inches wide. And then you have your wall cabinets that go from, like your upper cabinets, they go from 30, 36, 42. So that's like 6-inch increments. And then a variety of depths. So they offer a limited amount of things, sizes and dimensions, but kind of like the go-to dimensions that you would normally use. So I went, well, based on that, the interior of the cabinetry is one color, one design, one finish, but aesthetically pretty okay. Not, and I think a lot of times, you have your selections of simulated wood melamine You have pre-finished, let's say birch or maple plywood. You know, there's an array of different styles of interior. But if you want to just kind of come down off the custom column a little bit and know that you're just going to fill it with your pots and pans, soup cans, what have you, and the front, the money side, the money shot of your cabinetry is really the doors and drawer faces, then you just got to make sure that the box, the cabinet carcass itself, is well built and readily available. So that's what I did. I went, you know, let me call Menards and talk to, you know, their kitchen cabinetry manager. and they said, yeah, you can just go online, order what you want, come and pick it up. If it's not available, then we'll see you in a week or two. Okay, cool. So, and you know, they come at a pretty decent price point. And across the board, I went, it's actually a decent quality. I like the, you know, the way that they build it with 3/4 inch sides, tops and bottoms. The back of the cabinetry is just your standard, you know, way of, I don't know, maybe 1/4 inch back, and then they have where you would run your screws into the wall. That's kind of backed up by maybe 5/8 inch material or something like that. And then you can buy however many shelves you want. It's already milled out for the shelf pin holes, the hinges, the drawer glides, so on and so forth. And you can, you know, outfit it with the components that you want. You know, drawers, soft close, you know, hardware. And on that project, the Clearview kitchen project that I did, I was like, well, yeah, it's kind of cool. I'll just get my own, you know, dovetail drawer boxes and my own soft close. You know, I'm a fan, or I'm familiar with anyway, the Blue Motion drawer slides. And they have a variety of that it's milled out. The cabinetry is already milled out for that. And they just started offering solid wood dovetail drawer boxes, and you can use your own drawer faces. Well, that's a game changer. And the price point is pretty okay. I think that the cabinetry itself, just the cabinet box itself, the price is really friendly. When you start getting into their hardware, their drawer boxes, and all the accessories that they offer, that's when they start making their money. That's when they start charging. So you got to kind of make some decisions there. Now, I want to show you how I break down cabinetry parts when I've got to manufacture. I've got to fabricate the doors and drawer faces. This particular client just wants flat drawer faces, flat doors. Pretty easy, but they're all walnut. The grain is to run through vertically from the doors onto the drawer faces. That's a common design preference. And everything is to be on touch latches. Well, I've got to break down the cabinetry and the sizes. Then I've got to put it onto a cut list. So I want to show you how I go about doing that. So this is how I do it. I went through and I printed off. I could not find my plywood to scale drawings, so I had to print out a couple. And I really quick just traced one from an old, you know, one that I had already used. But these are to scale. They're like 2 inches by 4 inches or something like that. And I put 6 of them on there. And these represent a sheet of plywood or melamine, or it could be drywall, but I've never done that. But MDF, you know, whatever, but the 4x8 sheets. And now, I divide them up with the dash so that I understand how many pieces I can get. And it's a helpful roadmap. Now, some people use a computer program. Some people do it right out of their head. I am not that guy. The thing that I like about this, and it does take some time, it takes some time to establish all of this. You got to draw it out to scale. You want it to be nice and neat. You don't want this to happen where I was, you know, kind of tracing this from an old one where it's like just off center a little bit. I'm going to ignore that. It's no big deal. I understand that this is supposed to represent 24 inches and that's the other 24 inches. It just got off center. Okay, cool thing about this is I can label it. I can say 1/2 inch MDF, 3/4 inch MDF, you know, or whatever, right at the top. At the very top, I'll put the project, the customer name, and this goes in their file. They're like, hey, Scott, could you give me one more shelf for that upper cabinet? And everything that's on this piece, or I will label this piece. So I go, I don't even know what size that is. Well, I don't have to drive there to measure it. It's right, all the information is right here. I save all of my projects. For every client, every project that I do, I keep it in a file until I hate them, they hate me, or they move away, or whatever. It really doesn't matter. Let's say they have a door that, that's got scratched or damaged or whatever. Or maybe there's a flood and I got to redo it all. I don't want to go through this all again. So this is my cheat sheet and this is how I do it. To be honest with you, coming up through the ranks, maybe at like Bruce's shop, they just started out with a scratch sheet and just started making a list of sizes, just kind of going through there. And when they get it done, they cut it all, they throw it away. And I'm like, I really like having, maybe they would order a bunch of plywood and you would be X amount of accurate. So that kind of messes with your budget a little bit. I see a lot of flaws in that. I've seen guys do it just right out of their head. They build the cabinet carcass, they know the sizes, they do it all day, every day. And then when they get all done, they measure the cabinet, and then from that, they make their drawer boxes, their drawer faces, and their doors. And their shelves. I'm not crazy about that method either. I really like breaking it all down on this, and it is more time consuming, it's more anal retentive, but I found that I might order 3 sheets of this. It's like, well, I look at the job and I go, yeah, and I kind of guesstimate how many sheets that I need. And when I break it all down, I'm surprised a lot of times. If I have like 3 or 4 pages of this, for a full size, like a larger project, I'm like, oh my God, I was actually able to consolidate everything in here, make little notes of what I'm going to cut first and when, and I was able to save 2 sheets. So they just go in my stockpile and I just have those. And so anyway, this is one way that I do it. The next thing, the next method is I get all my sizes. I do all of my drawings not on CAD, because most times CAD is expensive, costs me money, and they don't have the custom sizes. I'm always doing the one-off stuff, so the sizes just aren't available through CAD, right? So I just make up my own, and what I use is Google SketchUp, and it's free. I know how to use it. I've become pretty familiar with it. For whatever reason, the original Google SketchUp I found to be a lot better than the current version, and I've tried to get the old version, and I'm not nerd enough to know how to go back to the original version, though I'm told 1,000 different ways and times that it is available. So I can make notes on this, and I can see it's to scale, and I can make little notes like make sure you remove, because I have to make like a plywood box where this corner all comes together, and that little spot right there that's going to carry my filler. I have to make this out of raw plywood. So it's going to carry my inside filler, and it's going to carry my outside panels for a bar that I'm making. Here's the inside. I can make all of my door and drawer parts using this, and I have my sizes considering my 1/8 inch margins. When I have 2 18-inch cabinets, they come together in the center. I subtract a 1/16 of an inch off this side, a 1/16 of an inch off that side, yielding my 1 inch margin that I look for. My margins end up getting a little bit tighter because from my cut list, I add a little bit more material on there because I'm going to edge band all the way around. So my 1/8 inch becomes an 1/8 inch minus the thickness of however many times I do edge banding. So that 1/8 inch margin is going to be an 1/8 inch minus the thickness of one layer of edge banding and the other layer of edge banding. So they become a little bit neater. The cool thing about this, if you ever decide to go that route where this would be frameless cabinetry, there are no face frames here. The doors and drawer faces make up the entire face. Now, over here, I have a panel that kind of comes around. It's going to be edge banded. It's going to be walnut on this side, walnut on this side. And I make sure that I have not just the space for the drawer face itself, because that's 3/4 of an inch, but you also have to have an 1/8 of an inch behind it. So 7/8. That's my dimension that I go for. So I make sure that the face of this is 7/8 of an inch away. And as I kind of go all the way around. Now I'll show you what that looks like. So I have all of these panels. So there's going to be a panel there, backed up with a piece of solid walnut here, a panel here. Obviously it's only going to be, out of a 4-foot sheet, take an inch off of there to get rid of the factory edges. And then since this is just small, I'm going to biscuit and glue this together to make it monolithic. So it's just one panel. Same thing here. So it's just going to be like, 3 foot by, 5'3" or whatever that adds up to. So I'll have one panel here and one panel here. And I get to do all of my math, make these fillers. And I get to zoom in right up on it. like get an idea of what my rip's going to be. And I find the best place to do that in my plywood diagram. That is how if I'm fabricating cabinetry, I do the same thing. I always refer to this plywood diagram, and it makes my life pretty easy. And that's how I do what I call a cabinet breakdown. And I go through and I can lay these out in front of me. I try to put them in a file. Some of the stuff that I don't take the time to do, there's an outside corner. It's like just dead space on this bar. Part of this bar goes this way, part of this bar goes this way. There's gonna be a dead outside corner, and it's gonna be wrapped in paneling. But I need to carry those panels with an interior box. And I don't draw all of the parts required for to make this box, because I just have a huge stack of really carefully cut 2.5 inch rips on my table saw right now. But it's important that I understand how these, I just build these like I'm framing a wall in a house. So like that's a stud wall that's 1 foot 9 5/8. This one here is gonna be 2 foot 2 inches. This one here is 1 foot 11.5. So when I build these stud walls, then I just connect them together. This will carry this filler here, and this will carry these panels here, and I can screw them from this side. And within that box, I will have screw flanges, just a couple pieces of plywood, and yeah, so that's how I do that. But that's so simple to do. I don't waste my time putting it in the plywood diagram, because I have enough faith in how smart I am to be able to pull that off without having to put that in my complex list here. So all of my panels here, I have we'll just label it A, B, C, D, E, F, and all of my fillers are just going to be like, I have this filler, and this filler, and that's it. The rest are all going to be doors and drawer faces. That's it. But they all have to come out of this. So how many sheets of plywood do I need for this? Well, this section, and this section, I think I can get that all out of one sheet of plywood. This section, I believe that I can get that'll be 3 foot, that's 6 foot, and these are, 9 foot. All right, well, I better have one more sheet to make sure that I can pull all of that off. So all my panels, all my doors and drawer faces, and my fillers are gonna come out of what I have estimated already 3 sheets of 3/4 inch thick MDF core walnut plywood. And now that I've calculated all of my sizes, considering having a little bit of a fudge factor when I need to scribe this to the wall, scribe this to the wall, scribe that to the wall, scribe that to the wall here, and to the floor, all of this will get scribed to the floor too. And I'm going to have a solid piece of walnut here on this panel. And a solid piece of walnut here on this panel. But my dimensions for my cut list are going to be right here. So pretty easy. That's it. Cut. Stop recording. So I'm keeping these all in order, paying careful attention to the orientation. Make sure they all are the same size as they come out. So I have doors that line up the doors, that line up with the other doors. And I put them back in place just to make sure that I don't get confused. And I know it probably seems like I have spending an awful lot of time making sure, double checking and all of that. Anybody watching this video has got the right to question how often I double check everything. And the truth of the matter is, I'm gonna be hanging doors up in the UP, trimming it out, drywall and framing, whatever. And I'm not in cabinet shop mode. So I just know, of course in the back of my head, I know all of these things are important. But if you don't use it, you lose it. So if that's the truth, then it makes sense to, if you don't do this, just all day, every day, when you get back into it, you jump into it for a hot second, you're a little bit not used to things. So I'm extra careful. In fact, I go a little slower. I'm taking the time to make sure that I'm double checking stuff, and because I've been here before. I'm like, I know how to do this, and I rush right through it, all gung ho, boom, go, Scotty, go. And then I'm racing around trying to find another sheet of walnut, which is down in Warren, Michigan. That's a hike. It's an hour there. It's going to cost me an extra, $200, $250 because I wasn't paying attention. And I don't want a drawer and a door to have the grain line up, and right next door to it, have the grain and it's off, and I'm screwed. I mean, no one's gonna shoot me, but I'm gonna look like an idiot, a bigger idiot. I am taking extra precautions, and I'm telling you that, so you take extra precautions. And because I just whipped through this, and I'm giving myself credit for doing a really good job, because, I need the credit. It's easy for me, at least in all cases, to be like, oh, I did really good, and I skepped it and get the momentum going and the whole 9 yards. But you gotta slow down and make sure that you're doing your due diligence. This is how these doors operate. They're gonna function like this. I'm gonna sand off all my labeling. That's bad. So my only chance is to write on here, drill, baby drill. And this is G parentheses, drill, G parentheses, and this is up. That way, after I drill, I can put all of that labeling in that cup inside there, finish over it, and there is some proof of my labeling, and I'll have, it'll just be a whole lot less confusing. So this is H. One thing that it just occurred to me, and I remember from yesteryear, is what are you going to do about the drawer faces? The drawer faces, this drawer face, the back side of it is covered up by a drawer box. So I'm going to write on here E with a Sharpie and an arrow going up, F, and when I finish over there, it's permanent. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to sand that. I'll sand the outside edge. I'll spend a second to do that. After it's edge banded, no big deal though. And the direction, just point to the sky. This is what B, and it's up. All right, so everything is labeled.
Episode 1 complete.